serves 5 and you're not going to eat half of it.
Yeah. So that Greek one, like how much?
Greek's very good. So Greek natural yogurt, so it doesn't matter what brand in terms of just natural.
Right.
But with the Jalno, it's interesting, it's a good question, Liz, because with Jalno, when you look at the back, it appears to be high in sugar, but the fruit ones is just from the fruit itself. The vanilla one and the bush honey one is actually quite natural. You're using natural vanilla extract for the vanilla, and they're actually using just honey for the bush honey. So they are the best yogurts. So I would always say Tamar Valley and Jalno. I don't like to give brands, but it really does help them in the supermarket.
And A2 and now linked with Jalno and
yes.
natural yogurt. A2 and Jalno.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's A2. They use A2 milk with their, and I've actually listed.
What's A2 milk?
A2 milk is a different sort of protein that they find from cows, and it actually has been known to help and improve people's digestive health. A lot of different intolerances people get, and they find that with the A2 milk, it's actually much better than the normal standard cow's milk. It's just a better quality protein. But if you try those, don't be worried about, if something tastes really good, people think there must be something wrong with it. But with the Jalno yogurt, you get in a pot like that, it's just being aware of the portion. But I'd much prefer you to have a creamy yogurt that tastes good and eat less rather than eating a lot of junk like air. So some of the diet foods, so just go back to the basics. As I said with cheese before, unless you're eating a lot of cheese or a lot of dairy and you need to cut down your saturated fat for cholesterol, you can eat full fat cheese, caution's the words, or a good shaving of parmesan for a good taste. It's going to give you much more satisfaction than copious amounts of low fat sliced cheese. Yeah, yes, Tom.
Could you explain why a diet cake or a low sugar cake is in this category?
Yeah, so look, it's interesting because in the video it's saying, either cut it out. Look, diet drinks aren't great because really it's just putting a chemical in your body. However, there's no research to conclude, particularly the sweetness they use in Australia, that actually cause cancer. They had did studies on rats and they gave them such a lethal injection, you wouldn't consume that much in a lifetime. So I get a lot of patients coming in seeing me who freak out and say, look, I'm drinking a lot every day. The last thing I would do is going from 1.5 litres of Diet Coke to nothing. It would cause massive headaches. It's like cutting out caffeine entirely. It would just be reducing it. So for some people, if they don't have coffee or tea, they say, look, I do like a can every day. Look, if that's what you like, fine. There's nothing to say it's going to cause cancer. It's not a great food, so I usually ask the person, why do you have it? If they can get that fix from something else in their diet, then I'd actually prefer that. So one guy, for example, said, I just like the bubbles. So he ended up changing it to natural mineral water with lemon and ice. And he said,
Even a straw.
Yeah.
Oh, there
Could do that. But yeah, that alternative. So that's why I've put it there. It's just looking at how much you're having. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. So some people go, I'll never give up my diet drinks, but I'll be willing to cut down. The same with sweetness. Some people say I'll still use it, but I understand to cut it down. Some people are only using a few teaspoons of sugar a day, maybe a little bit on the porridge and maybe one in a tea. Just go back to normal sugar. You don't need to use sweetener. Don't feel that you have to cut every skerrick of calories out of your diet. Just think about how much am I using and why. But certainly diet drinks aren't completely evil. It's just how much. It'd be great if you didn't have them. If you're going to a party and having every couple of weeks just soft drink, just have the normal stuff because you're not having them all the time. So is there anything in particular about the...
Well, I suppose they've been pushed for years that a good alternative that, doesn't have high calories and all this sort of stuff, and
it's interesting.
all of a sudden it's turned that they're on the other side of the ledger here.
It's interesting, John, because whenever I go to conferences, and even with dietitian conferences, there's always a lot of companies there pushing their brands of low calories. So a lot of yogurts, it's got sweetener in it, much better. So, scientifically, it wouldn't be on our supermarket shelves if it would cause cancer, and certainly a lot of health professionals are saying have the sweetener instead because you've got diabetes. Okay, but I'm a believer that just if you can cut it out, great. But it's not the worst thing if you're having a can every second day and you go, oh, it's going to cause cancer. It won't. But always just think about is there any other alternative. So just to be aware of it. It's like everything they say now. Everything causes diabetes. It's just a relation. Some people say they like it.
a bit like that other guy you were talking about, likes the bubbles.
There you go.
I do soda water.
Perfect. So water's really good.
That could be a poison too, I don't know.
No, I
It's
know.
around the
Everyone's
corner.
like, what? Hey, I may just have anything I want because everything causes, health problems. No, soda water's really good. People say, oh, is it high in sodium? It hasn't got a lot of sodium in it. So that would be a perfect alternative. Soda water or mineral water, natural. The bubbles, that's why I asked him, what is it that you like about the Diet Coke? He said, it's just the bubbles. I thought, that's easy. There's some other way of getting bubbles into your body without the sweetener. And you went, oh, yeah. So perfect. It's a really nice little spritzer. Put it in a champagne glass if you like having champagne.
What about things like Caro and Echo and stuff like that?
Yeah, they're all good too. They're actually really good. Nice alternative, yes. Yep.
And then with the dairy, like cottage cheese and, pecan and feta and all that. Just in moderation.
Cottage and ricotta, actually, you can have most days. You can get a really nice low-fat one in the deli section of the supermarket, a low-fat ricotta. Anyone tried that ricotta there? It's really creamy and lovely. That can appear more often in the diet, only because it's pretty high in calcium but very low in those saturated fats. So you can eat that daily, and that's why on your snacks that you'll have, if you have some grainy crisp breads with cottage or ricotta, you can have that every day. Feta, count that as a protein, so if you're having it at lunch with your salad or at dinner, you can include that as part of a meal.
Can I just ask a question? This is what I should talk about. I'm not a great, I can't tolerate yogurts, cottage cheese, any of that sort of stuff. Really don't have milk.
Yep.
And so I might eat a bit of cheese. I'm really not having a lot of dairy.
Are there any dairy alternatives that you try? Like soy or rice?
I just don't like the taste.
The taste. Yeah.
The milk or just that.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Who finds that if they don't have a lot of dairy or dairy alternatives? I mean, some people are sort of worried about calcium. Some people have said, look, I eat almonds to get the calcium. You have to eat that many almonds to get the same amount from a glass of milk or soy. But certainly with tinned fish, the bones, don't discard the bones. If you mash them, that's pure calcium. So the bones in fish is one way of getting calcium. Almonds will give you some calcium, but not a lot. Some people, if they're at risk of osteoporosis, then they may have to actually go on a supplement if you're not getting it through the diet. So I only ever push supplements if you can't get it through the diet. So with fish, if people don't like fish, they might try fish oil. But other than your dairy, your soy, your oat milk, your rice milk, they're all, the non-dairy milks are fortified, so you get equal amounts of calcium. But if you don't like any of those, then it's looking at a potentially supplement. Some people go for a test first just to bone density. Let me get the proof first. Another thing, way of getting calcium is tofu. You think of the Asian diet, traditional Asian diet. I don't know. Right, that's what's going to be for the recipe modification. Tofu and seaweed. Watch the thing run away. Other questions? There's one last bit, but I want to ask you what other questions you've got. What do you make of that so far? Are you sort of thinking in your head, yeah, I already do that, or are there some things that you think, oh, maybe I might need to reintroduce and put back in my diet? What do you think?
I just want to ask about the chia seeds. Are they as amazing as the video made them sound?
Look, it's funny, isn't it? Look, they're very, very good for you. Very, very good for you. But it's not to say that if you have chia seeds, everything, all the planets will align and your life will become amazing. They are a superfood. They are very good for you. High in omega-3, high in protein.
Could you sprinkle them over salad or something?
Yeah.
That tastes. I've never tasted them.
You can sprinkle over your salad. Some people put it in a cereal. Some people put it in a smoothie. Some people, when they bake their own breads, or even that muffin recipe I gave you, you could put chia seeds in there.
But it is a fat.
It's a good fat, yeah, it's a really good fat for you. So it's high in fat. If you look at the amount of fat per 100 grams, it's about 30 grams of fat. I was just looking at it the other day for a lady, because she was having chia seeds and walnuts and all these other nuts, and she said, am I getting too much? And we had a bit of a look. So treat it as a fat, and if you're doing a sprinkling, what a great way of getting a good fat in your diet. So some people do a sprinkling and then have nuts as a snack.
And it doesn't actually taste of anything. It's
Okay.
more the benefit of it, I guess.
Slightly linseeds, they just for the benefit. But yeah, it's not going to. I mean, if you could bottle that up and make a few $1 million, that'd be great. So this is the cure, but it's not. It's just the total of your diet. But you know, for some people that might be the next thing you work on. Maybe some more chia in your diet, or maybe some more barley. From those superfoods, are there any there that you think that you could actually put back in your diet, or are you sort of thinking, I already do most of that?
I just have to laugh because we just cleaned out a cupboard the other day and replaced the cupboard, and into that there was like about 10 cans of lentils. I went, okay, I've got to do.
Oh, you throw them out. Oh, good. I thought you throw.
No, they're there, but they just got, you know, caught.
Lentil soup.
I'll have a recipe for that too. I was rolling around laughing. So I pulled out and Dave said, you could stop a supermarket shelf.
feed an army. Good lentil dal or lentil soup. I used to say if you've got tinned tomatoes or lentils in the cupboard, then you've got a meal.
We actually had chickpeas sitting in the back of ours for ages, and I can't understand why now. I just think they are one of my favourite things.
Yes.
Like I have them, throw them in a salad. I just can't believe I've not eaten chickpeas like I, yeah. Yeah, in the Thermomix.
So nice.
Just on chickpeas, you know you can get in the supermarket they're like nuts.
Chick nuts.
Yeah. Are they okay?
Yeah, look, what I do first of all is I look at the back of the label just to see what's in them, and usually it's just coated with some oil and roasted. But if you have a handful, treat it like a nut because they're pretty high in fat.
Yeah.
I've had people who've snapped on a lot of them. So if you have a handful, treat that as one of your morning or afternoon snacks. A really good way of getting legumes again.
Yeah.
So chip nuts, you can get. Yeah, so just be aware they're also high in fat.
My husband hates legumes, any type of. Like, I love them, and sometimes I sneak them in. He doesn't realise like lots of things, but he'll eat them. Like he loves those chip nuts.
So thinking outside the square. It's pretty good. No, that's exactly what it's about. If you're really wanting that type of food in your diet, is there some way of putting it in there without the yuck factor?
What about sprouts, like sprout kick?
Yes.
And lentils.
Very good again. Very, very, very good. Anything that's plant-based, you're getting a fair whack of antioxidants. Yeah, really good.
Chia wraps, are they leaky sort of thing, or are they?
Yeah, I look on the back and see how much chia is in it. If it says 2%, like you're saying, it's probably best just to put it on the cereal. But any sort of grain in the bread will actually make it more low GI, so it could be more for the satiety factor. It fills you up because of the grains rather than getting this for the chia. Always look at the percentage.
So what percentage is?
Look, I guess the main thing I'd say is if you have about a tablespoon a day, that'd be a good amount. But if they put that in one wrap, I just doubt it. But if you like them, you're actually getting a nice type of whole grain food, so that's fine.
And Rebecca, what about coconut?
Yeah. What is it with coconut water in Hollywood?
Oh, yeah?
It's definitely no, I read magazines. One of the hairdressers at the same time I read these magazines. But everything you look at, all the ads is all about coconut water and benefits of coconut. Look, coconut has got a lot of properties in it that's very good for you. The only reason why it's sort of on the be aware sort of list is because it's high in saturated fat. And in saturated fat, as we know, you're more likely to have high cholesterol if you've got a high saturated fat diet. So it's not yet one of the other super things like having coconut water. People think it's changed their life. It's not like that at all. But coconut's quite good for you. Just using it sparingly, being aware of it too. I've got an additive list there for you too. If you have a look, that's just not to scare you, but from some of the non-foods, just to be aware. Some people find, look, I might just check out my foods at home and see if I've got a lot of additives in my diet, because a lot of these additives can cause quite a few things like stomach upsets, irritability in children. I've seen children who have cut all the junk out their diet and they've gone from being monsters to angelic. That doesn't mean you can blame your child's behaviour because they've got too many additives in their diet. That'd be nice. But these are just the main ones, and you know, it seems like a lot, but it's interesting. The more wholesome your food, these won't even be there. So a box of Vita-Weeks, don't even bother looking at that, it won't be there. You know, a good tin of lentils, it won't be there. It's just anything else that's a little more processed. If you're sort of looking at what else could I do to my diet, it might be reducing some of those additives. The ones that I'll sort of really be aware of. If you look at preservatives, that section, sulfites in a lot of dried fruits and processed goods, and propionates. Propionates are in a lot of fluffy white breads. And MSG. That's just to be aware, but a lot of companies now, to our benefit, are realising that if they make a product preservative-free, people are more likely to buy it. There's a lot of awareness now, as you know, about additives in children's diets. So the good thing is a lot of companies not only making more money because people are buying their products, it's actually benefiting us as consumers because they are labelling it as preservative or additive-free. So always be aware of that, particularly with all of the breads. There's a lot of junk that they do put in breads, so now there's a lot of breads that won't have this propionate in it, which is not a very good additive.
I went to Aldi the other day and I said all of their food now is additive free.
Great, because it used to be the opposite, didn't it, at Aldi?
Yeah,
It used to be a lot
Yeah,
of...
they don't sell any, is it preservative and additive or
I
just?
think it's both. actually.
Yeah.
That's good. See, because it's so many, so much hype about it now. Like I said, in my practice, I'm getting a lot of people coming in because they've got gut problems, arthritic pain, and once we do eliminate the additives, it goes away like that. I had one lady who saw me, she came back yesterday for a 4-week review. She needed to lose some weight. She had a lot of osteoarthritic pain. She's only very young. She's only in her late 30s. And all we looked at was her diet, and she said, I have been reading a little bit about additives and whether it benefits arthritis. I said, there's no conclusive evidence, but just let's look at your diet. And all we did was tidied up the diet and looked at more of the wholesome foods, rather than focusing on weight management, because she's just been told for so long, just lose weight, just lose weight. And then within 4 weeks, she went from a pain from 0 to 10 of about 7 to about 0 to 2. She accidentally, I call, lost 3 kilos because we're focusing more of the quality of the diet, not get the weight off, get the weight off. And she just went from, rather than cut all these foods out, it's put these foods back in your diet. It was basically that hierarchy in terms of follow these foods. And now she's got very little pain. The only time she'll get pain is in cold weather or if she's pushed herself too hard with exercise. But you can see that there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there that actually the more artificial stuff you cut out of your diet, the better digestive health, behavioural for children, but also any inflammation, which is interesting. Yes.
So is it a myth, the red drink thing with kids sets them off, or is it all part of this?
That's what I mean.
Teacher?
I can tell you that now. I've seen it with I've seen it with children.
Yeah.
Well, I know even teaching young children, you'd say to the parents, what did they have for breakfast?
Oh, yeah.
Because the kids would be raging lunatics
Oh.
like that when they came in the next day. They say, what on earth did they have for breakfast?
Oh.
They had Fruit Loops. And
Yeah.
crying out loud.
Yeah,
I
it's
said,
true.
yeah, send me loopies.
Yeah.
Can you start giving them stodgy food?
That's why they call them Fruit Loops, because they don't really make
Oh my God.
Sorry,
You know?
But no, you're right, John. I mean, in terms of, and they're little bodies, so they only need a small dose. So that's when you look at contamination of foods that people have to be aware of: are pregnant women, elderly, and children. Children, because they're smaller bodies. So yes, certainly, like I said with children before, I've seen them go from very aggressive, like irritating behaviour, to cutting up those red foods, green foods. The good thing is, because let's face it, children like those as treats. A lot of the chocolates and confectionery now are preservative free. So it means that when mums and dads do buy treats, they'll go for those rather than saying to the child, you can't have any of those. And that's, I've left that website there, Fed Up with Food Additives. That's actually written by a really knowledgeable lady called Sue Dengate, who actually personally went through this herself with her children. And so she's got a website with a lot of free fact sheets. So have a look at it if you're sort of a bit concerned about anything. And she actually looks at a lot of symptoms and potentially some of the foods that can cause problems as well. Just one last thing I thought I'd mention. You know, it's not just about what you eat, it's also how you eat in your environment as well. So I've put here as well mood and stress management techniques. And I thought this, you know, in terms of positive psychology, there's a lot of research coming from positive psychology about, you know, having good mental health obviously helps with good physical health. I'm sure the times you felt really stressed, that your body was probably not the healthiest. Ever felt like that before? You know, heart racing, maybe a bit of digestive discomfort. this can actually just put more of the quality back in your life in terms of, you know, looking at what you're trying to achieve rather than what you're trying to avoid. So I've just put the 3 blessings exercise. This is research-based, and what it says is that you need to write down 3 positive things that have happened to you in the day. And it might be something simple like, I saw a beautiful sunrise this morning and I took the time to notice it. Or my child gave me a hug and I took the time to appreciate it. So the most important thing about this exercise is you're writing 3 positive things that have happened to you every day, but your contribution towards it. Why would that be? Why do you think that's the most important point of your contribution towards that positive thing?
You're emphasising like it's life-giving, like appreciating life and being grateful and.
Yep, that's right.
So it's just like exercising with positive life-giving energy.
It is.
Do that.
It is. It's actually stopping you to think about it. And if it's your contribution towards it, it means that you have done it. Rather than going, I never do anything, it's you have contributed to it. So what they say is if you record that 3 blessings every day for 3 weeks, the research suggests that it actually has a mood elevation effect for over 6 months. So like what you're saying, Margaret, people are actually in tune about the things that are working rather than what's not working. So sometimes if you're in a rat race every day, stopping and thinking about 3 things that are positive. Who finds sometimes, I know when I'm stressed, you do forget the things that are going on. Stopping to think about it, that's one thing. I've done that with a lot of people with eating disorders because they're focused on what they don't have. A lot of negative body image. This is actually getting them to focus on things that are in their environment that they're contributing to. Pleasant event scheduling. This is a really important one to boost mood too. When someone's a bit low in mood or a bit stressed, sometimes it's really hard to think of anything pleasant to do in your life. So some people find that if the nutrition is really good, sometimes things to boost the mood is the extra thing you need to have, you know, a perfect sort of lifestyle. So the pleasant event scheduling is behavioural distraction. So you know how we talked about last week about emotional eating? Sometimes that what can be pleasant if we're stressed is just to go for something to eat. Pleasant events is actually putting in something pleasant for you to enjoy rather than food. So it could be something like walking on the beach. It could be scheduling time to have coffee with friends. It could be just to go to the cinema and have a really good belly laugh. It could be just to read a book. So for some people, what they're not doing is scheduling in me time. Now as parents, me time, I mean, a few hours, we don't have time. Me time might be just sitting down for 15 minutes just to catch your breath, maybe just to do something to have a good laugh. So having more laughter and more of a positive aspect in your life has actually had research behind it, which suggests it actually improves the mental and physical health as well. We talked about mindfulness last week. I've got sunlight for serotonin. So getting more sunlight in your day, we know that actually boosts the happy chemical serotonin. So that actually lifts the mood like that. And I've also put sleep and also mindful eating. And we've talked about that before of how you're eating, not eating on the go. For some people, they set a new routine of never to eat in front of the laptop or computer or TV, to always sit at the table as a family, eating mindfully. Then you go and do the thing you have to do. So that's one way of actually slowing down, improving your digestion as well. So, thoughts about that? Any comments? I thought I'd explain that to you. What's pleasant events? Anyone tried that before? Or anyone think that that would apply to them? The last section, so anything for mood and...
Sunlight definitely does. As soon as it's sunny, I go, oh yay, yay.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's cloudy and horrible, I just go,
yeah, definitely. You have the sleepy chemical at night, melatonin. When you wake up, it's supposed to go down, and serotonin is supposed to go up, but it's activated by sunlight. So if you are having a low mood day, or if everyone's depressed, quite often it's easy just to stay indoors and not stimulating that serotonin. So for some people, if they're having a low day, it's just as long as you get out in the sun, but the day will change. That doesn't mean to say that that will be an absolute cure.
Some days when I have to take leave out of my 9-year-old daughter's book, she turned 9 a couple of weeks ago, and I asked her in the morning, what do you want for dinner tonight? So I asked her for all things, something special what do you want? Fully confident she was going to ask for pizza. She asked for coffee. Wow. She likes the vegetables. I've never had a problem with fruit and vegetables with her. But on my bad days, it's almost like she's deliberately saying to me, well, I'm going to have a bath home.
Wow.
Ah.
She's the angel on one side.
Yeah, I think so, but I can see why I was like all day thinking, okay, so that's good. Yeah. And I was able to get a while up. So, yeah, that's good. It's just that little bit of a reminder.
Yeah. That's something to keep in mind that, you know, don't forget that what you're doing is you're being good role models. So your children have to learn from someone. So that's a pleasant event that actually you're noticing the effect that you're having on the children as well. Right? Oh, that's just child. That's just children.
Yeah, that's good.
But they do have sensitive taste buds, so it's normal to actually dislike some vegetables. Plus, things are more neutral for the palate. So it's very normal for them not to like bitter type foods.
Any retail aphrodisiacs?
Wow. What have you read, Margaret?
I can't see oysters.
That's true. That's true, actually. Oysters are great.
But Peter's on.
Are they?
Yes.
Just speaking from experience.
Yeah.